Hello and welcome to what is going to be called Text and Sound. A couple things to note before I head into this exercise, and I've noted this at the top of the text and sound file. One is that you need the stars.jpg image. I've already done a file import to library and gotten that image right here. The other thing it states is talking about these sound files. I've actually imported both of them, the MP3 and the WAV. As the file states, depending on if you're using a PC or a Mac, I've had some students that have had issues with these in the past. Please import potentially both of these and see which one works. I am on a Mac. I think the MP3s tend to work a little more consistently, but the WAV file also imported, and if it imports, it generally means that it will work. Now, one thing I stated in the weekly file is that I'm only going over new stuff. Steps basically 1 through 23 are review. I have created these motion tweens, and you should be able to do this. So I have two motion tweens with the word twinkle. Just to back up, we are sort of using the old phrase twinkle, twinkle, little star in order to go over some stuff with text this week. So I'm going to be using this phrase throughout the 3 exercises. So I have 3 motion tweens. I'm not going to do the step-by-steps on these. They're sort of staggered over about 70 frames each, and you'll sort of see where I want stuff. I do want it sort of set like this. The one thing I will quickly note is step 5. It says change the width to 800 pixels and the length to, or the height to 600 pixels and a dark gray background. You do that through modify. So the width is 800 and the height is 600. We can choose the stage color instead of having a permanent graphic in there, and I'm going to choose that dark gray. So I've basically set up here and done, as it's stated in the weekly file, the stuff that I consider review. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, you should be going back and reviewing some of the more, the beginning exercises like creating a motion tween, how to name layers and things like that. You should be able to sort of move your way through this. So I have these things sort of set up both in the library and off to the left here in the timeline. One thing I sort of have you do is name these layers. A lot of these pop up as layer 1, layer 2. You can simply double click on them and name these things. Okay. So I have twinkle, twinkle, little. So we basically need to add the star here. Okay, and this is the new material. So I'm going to hop all the way to step 24. It says create a new graphic with the word star by repeating steps 6 through 15. So I'm going to insert a new symbol, and I'm going to call it star. And I hop into the library here. Should note the font size and color of these in the graphics for Twinkle. I'm going to hop over to my properties here. I want to make sure this is static text, and this is Helvetica bold at 75. Now, the big bold section of step 24, it says make sure to break apart the star graphic twice. We did break apart with our bird graphic, and we need to do this twice, and I want you to watch how this works. So I'm going to go to modify, break apart. That breaks it up into sort of singular letters here. If we modify, break apart again, then, and we get the little dots there, and we can sort of zoom in, then we have a vector graphic. Okay, this is no longer editable text. This is sort of a vector graphic. This is very, very important to creating this mask layer. So I'm going to hop back to scene 1. And I've done this, step 25. It says create a new layer called star masked. I've done that. And step 26 says create a new layer called star mask. We're going to sort of hopefully get used to this idea of what a masked layer is and what a mask layer is. If you think about something that is masking something else, it's covering it up. This will make sense here in a minute. We are essentially going to use that stars.jpg image as sort of a background on which the word star is going to go over and let sort of these stars shine through. So step 27, and I've already done this. I'm going to click over on my library. It says choose import to library the stars.jpg file. I've done that already. Now, step 28, it says on the star mask layer, create a motion tween with the star graphic from 150 to 200 from middle left to middle right. Okay, so this should be pretty straightforward. We need to make sure we are on the right layers. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way up here, and it says 150. So I'm going to insert a blank keyframe, and it says from 150 to 220. So I'm giving each of these about 70 frames, a few seconds a piece. I'm going to insert a frame, and I'm going to grab my star graphic, and I'm going to create basically a simple motion tween. Now, what we need to do at this point is start to create a relationship between the star mask and M-A-S-K and the star masked, M-A-S-K-E-D. All right. So it says double click, and I'm on step 29. Double click on the layer icon all the way to the left of star mask. This is kind of tricky. This thing lives right here. You'll notice that to the left of the words and what you've named your layers is some sort of icon. This icon has these little dotted line or dotted boxes. That indicates there's a motion tween on. I'm going to double click on that, and I get this layer properties. Okay. This sort of states what type of layer it is. Most of our layers are, and this is check marked right here, normal. We want to make sure that this is a mask, okay? So we're going to click on mask. Now, step, and I'm just sort of looking over here, step 30. On the star mask layer, insert a keyframe at 150. Uncoincidentally, this is exactly where the star sort of graphic comes in. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there. And then also on this star mask layer, we're just going to insert a frame, and we're just extending out the sort of time in which we have this image. Next, it says, grab the star's JPEG from the image from the library and drop it onto star masked so it occupies frames 150 through 220. Position the image so it covers the entire stage. I want you to sort of look what's happening here. Here we have the word star. It's on this layer right here. Here's the tween. I've sort of created a space, and this is sort of like a little set of frames where this is going to live. So I'm going to grab this stars.jpg. It's going to sort of make a bit of a mess on top of that. But we'll fix that in a second. Next, on step 33, it says double click again on this layer icon all the way to the left of the layer star masked. A window should appear, and you choose this to be a masked layer. So I'm going to double click here, and instead of M-A-S-K, we want M-A-S-K-E-D. Now, I'm going to click OK, but I want you to watch, and you can watch this on my file or your file, what happens up here. So here I have star mask, and here I have star masked. I click OK. This tucks in, okay? What that tucking in represents is that there is now a relationship between these two things. Star mask is sort of over the star's image, okay? Now, in a minute, we're going to sort of go on to this adding sound to your movie, but what I want to do is I want to sort of check to see if this is working correctly, and you'll sort of see what happens. So I'm going to go up to testing the movie, and pretty simple animation here, twinkle, twinkle, and our little will come up, and now the moment of truth, there goes star. Okay, so star is essentially animating over and showing through that stars.jpg. I'll show it one more time here. You can sort of see the movement that's sort of happening over that space. On your .fla file, you will not see this, unfortunately. It won't show you sort of a preview of this. So please do test that movie in control test movie. Okay. Now, next thing we want to do is sort of add sound. Sound is going to be a requirement to your next project, so we want to sort of understand how to use sound. I have added a website to, I believe, this file called SoundJ. There's tons of places to get free sound, and so please sort of start to explore, especially that website. So it says import to the library the file twinkle.wave. Remember, it can be twinkle.wave or MP3. They are the same sound, essentially, and you can use either of them. It says, step 35, create a new layer called Twinkle Sound 1. Oops, I'm going to make sure this is... Twinkle Sound 1. And create a new layer called Twinkle Sound 2. I'm being very purposeful about creating different layers for different things. As we sort of get more complicated, you can sort of pull this down so we can sort of see all the layers, okay? I like to have my sounds, this is just a preference, down at the bottom so they don't mess with the visual aspects. Next, it says click on frame 1 of Twinkle 1 sound layer. There should already be a blank keyframe there. So we'll go all the way over here. And this is essentially as this first sort of twinkle comes in, okay? And it says grab the twinkle.wave or MP3, I'll do the MP3, and simply drag it on the stage. So what you're going to see here is not a visual, obviously, because it's sound, but you should see the sort of sound represented in the timeline there. Now, this is going to be the sound effect related to the first twinkle coming in. And we want to sort of do that for the second twinkle coming in. So it says on step 39, insert a keyframe at frame 60. This is uncoincidentally where the second twinkle comes in. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there. In step 40, it says grab the twinkle from the library and drop it onto the stage. Sound is unbelievably easy if it's very short. Later we'll deal with sort of longer sounds. And let's test this. And you should be able to hear, even over the screen recording, what happens here. So there's the first twinkle, second twinkle, kind of an obnoxious noise. And why not see the star once again? So here comes the sound. Twinkle. And that's essentially what text and sound should look like. Remember, email me with any questions. If you're having problems, always attach your .fla file. Otherwise, I'm going to head into the next exercise.